Hello and welcome again, everyone, to Time to Wind Down the Scenic Route. And it's with great pleasure to welcome our guest today, Chas from Ngwenya Glass, who's joining us all the way from Swaziland. But before we start chatting with Chas, I thought I'd just let everyone else from our panel, the wonderful co-hosts, Michelle and Gerard, to say hello as well. So, Michelle and Gerard.
Hello, everyone. It's been a
Michelle,
while.
where are you? Just remind people again, where are you?
I am up north in the UK, so between Ashbourne and Derby in Derbyshire, on a lovely autumn day in the UK without sun.
Yeah, lovely autumn day. Yeah, we know that all too well, right? Time to get on all the coats and scarves and gloves and hats and all those things that don't resonate too well with our African blood. But nevertheless, we do what we can. And Gerard, whereabouts are you, young man?
Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, well, actually, talking about the weather, I found it quite mild, actually. That might not be a bad thing for red grape varieties in the UK. But I am in Somerset, close to Bath and Bristol, and small little village called Mendip. This just outside the smallest city in the UK called Wells. And don't get that confused with Wales. It's Wells, Wells.
Yeah, you're not too far from Wales, but it is a fair distance nonetheless, right?
Yeah,
So...
there's a little bit of distance. But I've got a funny story about the weather and people getting cold in South Africans and stuff. I found it with my lovely British family I've got, is that most of the times I could sit in t-shirts and shorts outside with a fire going, and they would be having blankets around them and all sorts of clothes on. And I'm like, you guys are English. You should be used to this. And then I'm like, but maybe it's just all the years of lovely sunshine on me, and all the braais I've been doing through the years when I grow up, that actually maybe the heat is in me, and that's why I don't feel the cold as much. Maybe
it could be. It could very much be the case. And I am in South London, so the three of us, myself, Andy, Michelle, and Gerard, we created Time to Wind Down. I think some of you have watched this before, watched our series on YouTube. If you haven't watched any, please go back and have a listen and a watch with our previous guests. You will find that everything we do is all about celebrating South African wines, South African food, and stories. And we've met some wonderful people so far. Now, today's guest, Chas, is not in the Western Cape. I actually already said he's in Swaziland. And Chas, for those that may not know Southern Africa that well, where is Swaziland?
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite. So Swaziland is no longer called Swaziland. We are now called Eswatini. And we're situated south of the Kruger National Park. We have a border with Mozambique on our eastern border, and north, south, west borders are all South Africa. So we're totally landlocked. Our closest big town is probably Maputo, actually, as the crow flies. But of course, we're close to Nelspruit, Middelburg, and Johannesburg is a mere 4-hour drive from us.
And we are going to be talking about your company today, your business, and the story that is actually, it's a really cool story. I know that we're going to be talking about that today quite a lot, but the name itself, Ngwenya, and I think I'm not going to, well, we know what Ngwenya means, and it's very obvious by the banner that's behind you. Ngwenya is Zulu for crocodile, and Zulu is the most spoken language in South Africa. So I guess the question is, why crocodile glass or Ngwenya glass? What's the story behind that?
So the Zulus and the Swazis are cousins as well. They're very well related, and their language is very, very, very similar. Just next to us here, there's a mountain that looks like a crocodile lying in the sun. And it's been known as Ngwenya for decades, for millennia, I guess, because at the top of the mountain, there's a little mine, iron ore mine. that they think, well, they've dated it back to 43,000 BC. And that has iron ore in it, and the ochre, which is very, very bright red, has been used by African tribes for millennia for cosmetics and for, I know the Zimbabweans used to use it for rain dances and other traditional things. So it's a very well-known area, and it's atop of the crocodile. On top of the crocodile's head, actually, is this little iron ore mine, which is not in operation at the moment. It closed in the 70s, although they are looking at reopening it now. But the historical side of it is really important, actually. It's the oldest mine in the world, they think.
Wow, that's incredible. That I did not know that, and that's pretty exciting, because I know I talk about the history and the origin of storytelling, and there's a cave down in the Western Cape called Blombos Cave, and it's been a paleontologist gold mine. But Chas, that sounds exciting. I can definitely feel myself contacting you at another stage to actually find out more about that cave. But we are going to be talking about your company and the manufacturing glass, and it's not just going to be me asking you questions. I have to forewarn you, Chas, because we surprise our guests, because Michelle, she is amazing at finding incredible questions, and myself and Gerard, we haven't got a Scooby-Dooby clue as to what questions Michelle's going to be asking you today. But we hope that you'll give them your best shot, and I think they may be in relation to wine in some shape or form, but we will find out. But please do have a go. You're very welcome. If you had a friend with you, you would be able to ask your friend. But seeing as you don't have anyone other than the crocodile behind you, you can try asking the crocodile. I don't know if the crocodile will respond, or if there's anyone in your office there that you can shout to and ask. You're very welcome to do that. We don't allow Google, so we don't want you going alt tab and going onto Google and researching. We want you to try and just give it a best shot. But I know Gerard and Michelle got lots of questions as well, and we have started actually using your glasses, which I know Michelle. Actually, Michelle, that's probably a good point. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you met Chas, and Gerard as well. Please jump in as well. How we have started to use the glasses. So let me give you, before we challenge Chas with a very difficult question, let's talk about something easy, about how we met Chas and the glasses that we've used thus far.
Well, it's the power of connection, isn't it? So we always have these connections in social media, and whatever your opinion of social media is, it does come in handy. We met a wonderful lady called Eugenie Drakes about a year, maybe two. I don't know. Everything's kind of melted into each other online. She does amazing work in South Africa around trade and helping traders build their businesses. And her son is a storyteller, Howard Drakes. So he shared a little video. I think Ngwenya just put their biggest furnace on a couple of months ago, and it was around that that he shared this video, and I saw it and I was blown away. I was like, this is just amazing. And Howard made the connection. He said, well, good wine, good glasses, we have to connect. And we did. And we had a chat with Chas just after, and he sent us these gorgeous glasses, which we used at our International Pinotage Day event in Park Tavern on the 8th of October. But just before that, we had a wonderful event with another organization that we love supporting, the Helping Rhinos, at South Africa House. We had the Meet the Mambas, so these amazing ladies that are in the bush, and they work against poaching and things like that. They were in London, and we could share some of our wine in some of Chas's glasses. So it was a wonderful story, and well loved, definitely. Wonderful to tell the story and have the connections to recycled glass as such, and hand blown mostly, if I'm not mistaken, Chad. So it's just lovely glasses. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that, that's for sure, because I thought it was lovely. The evening we had such a great such important coaching, Helping Rhinos charity. But when the people walked in, they all got a glass of wine to walk around with and chat, and then gone into the auditorium for the a bit of Q&A with the Mambas. And it was wonderful to see everybody walking around with this Ngwenya glasses with wine in it. And I was like, yes, this is what things are about. It's great wine and fantastic glasses with a fantastic story. Quite a few people came to us and said, because they're loving it and they love the glasses and they love the story. So, well, that's not for me to talk about, I suppose, but I think Chas will let us know all about the glasses.
So Michelle, you touched on the fact that the glasses are made from recycled materials, but Chas, tell us more. I mean, it just sounds so exciting, because that's one thing that we really love to talk about is wine and the sustainable element of the manufacturing of wine, but everything that goes with it. So sustainability is a big box that we like to color in, not just tick. So tell us more.
Yeah, so our story goes back to 1979. Swaziland in those days was in the middle of, as I said earlier, between Mozambique and South Africa, and Mozambique was at war. South Africa was the height of apartheid. But there were quite a lot of aid companies working in Swaziland at that time, trying to uplift the Swazi. And one of the countries that came along was a Swedish company. And they offered to set up a little glass factory here, which they did. And it lasted about 4 or 5 years. And eventually they did all the training and they brought all the equipment and everything. But it just wasn't sustainable, because Sweden was one of the strongest countries against apartheid. And they had huge sanctions against South Africa. The market inside Swaziland wasn't big enough to sustain this little factory. So they had to sell into South Africa. And because of that, Sweden pulled the plug and everything went downhill from there. My parents inherited a 17-foot dining room table, one of those ones with the leaves in that you could make longer or shorter or whatever. And they started collecting these little glass elephants, and they wanted a whole procession of elephants running down the center of the table. They got about halfway down the table, and there were no elephants available anymore. The little shop where we used to buy from, we used to live in the Eastern Cape in South Africa. They said, no, the factory's closed down. So I was at sea at the time. I trained as a marine engineer. And on one of my shore leaves, I said to my dad, let's go and have a look up at Swaziland, see what's available. Maybe we can buy some more elephants from the liquidators and then complete your herd, and we can move on. So we did. We came up here in January 1987. And yeah, we just both fell in love with what they were doing here. The products were amazing, but it'd been closed for 2 years, was very airy and whatever. But we said to the liquidator, sure, maybe we should make an offer and start the business up again. And he said, look, we'll take any offer we can get. So we did a little bit of maths and sums, and we looked at all the equipment and stuff. Knew nothing about glass whatsoever, other than a lifetime of drinking out of them. Yeah, I'm an engineer. My dad's a farmer. We got together and we thought, right, let's make an offer. We made an offer, got back in our car, drove the 2 days back home. And we get home, and as we're driving up towards the house, there's my mum standing with her hands on her hips saying, what the hell have you two done? And we said, why? What's happened? And of course, this is 1979, farming, rural South Africa. She'd received a telegram. And the telegram said, your offer has been accepted. You are now the proud owners of a glass factory in Swaziland. So we looked at each other and said, oh dear, now what? Anyway, so yeah, we then moved here in June 1987, started the furnace up. We found some of the original blowers. The main guy is named Sibusiso Mhlanga, said, yeah, he will come along and do some training. He took one look at us actually and thought, these guys are never going to make it. There's these two burkies from South Africa. What the hell? They know absolutely nothing about glass. There's no ways they're going to make this thing work. Anyway, yeah, long story short, we put our heads down and worked really, really hard and built the business up from nothing to what it is today. And we're very proud of what we've done. It's taken 35 years to get here, and we do everything from recycled glass. So initially we did recycled glass only. Now our furnaces run on a 65-35% mix of KFC oil and paraffin. We're trying to get that down to 70-30 at the moment, so we're recycling oil in our furnace as well. All our packaging is recycled newspaper. We collect liters and liters of water from our roof, from the rain, of course, and that all goes through our process. We have 672 solar panels on our roof, it gives us about 40% of the energy we need. So yeah, I mean, recycling has sort of fallen in our lap, and we've just taken it from just basically recycled glass bottles all the way through to everything we do now. And it really, sustainability is the number one thing in mind. And, you know, sending our products all over the world, of course, gives us a bit of a carbon footprint. But what we've done now is we've penned the term carbon handprint. So where carbon footprint is the damage you're doing or the bad things you're doing, carbon handprint is what you're doing to mitigate those. So we will always have a carbon footprint. We cannot get away from that. We need massive energy for our furnace to melt the glass and everything. So we're never going to get to zero, but we are doing lots on the other side to mitigate all those. So maybe if you balance them out, you get to zero, but there's no energy in zero, to be honest. So yeah.
No, very cool. I'm conscious that we're a quarter of the way through our program today. And Michelle hasn't asked any questions yet. And I think it's probably, Chas is now relaxed. I think Gerard and Michelle, you'd both agree. Chas is suitably relaxed now. Chas, you agree? He's not so relaxed anymore now. His heart is starting to race because he's going to get this question. Now, yeah, so I think let's start off with the first question, Michelle.
Okay, well, it's not going to be hard, Chas, so you don't have to be nervous. I don't think Swaziland makes its own wine. We had a little bit of a chat about that, so we won't go too much into wine because we'll give you a break. But I wonder, so Swaziland is a very interesting little kingdom. It was under colonial rule for quite a while, since 1902, after the Second Boer War. And then it became independent in 1968, I think. Do you know, it's not called Swaziland anymore. As you say, in 2018, the name was changed to Eswatini. But where does the name come from? Why was it called Swaziland? And why is it's the same reason why the Swazis are called Swazi?
I don't know.
You didn't even try to think. Said, you just gave up. Chas, you just gave up so quickly.
No, I haven't given up. I just said I didn't know. Okay. But, they are cousins of the Zulus, and I think it probably the first king of Swazi was Mswati. We now have King Mswati III. So his tribe, I guess, was called the Eswatini from him. So that's my very educated guess that I think that's probably what it is, and that's the reason also why we've gone back to the name Eswatini.
Yeah, and you're very close. It was actually because of King Mswati II. So he lived between 1820 and 1868, which is kind of, he died 100 years before the independence, but it was because of King Mswati II.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well done.
That's very good. I like the way your engineering brain resolved that. That was fabulous. So you did
just to clarify on the colonial side, we were actually never a colony. We were a protectorate, and the British were asked to look after the nation, but we were never actually a colony. So when it came to handing over independence, it was a very simple process. Where in the rest of Africa, there was always a war and there was lots of fighting and so. Here, King Sobhuza at the time said, "My British, we would like our land back, please," and they said, "Sure, there you go." So it was great. So I think that's why the Swazis are very lackadaisical and have no hiccups with foreigners or anything like that. So yeah, we don't have any race issues, and we also only got one tribe, which was also quite helpful.
Yeah, very. They call it something. I'm going to look it up now. They did. I misused the word colonial, colony, but I'll check it up now. It was under custody, I suppose.
Yeah, we were a British protectorate.
Yeah.
What's your favorite wine, Chas? This is not one of the official questions because I'm just seeing Gerard sitting over there, and it just reminded me he's got all these wonderful wines in his cellar. What's your favorite wine?
Yeah, I follow and buy quite a number of farms. Stella Kaya being one of them. De Turin is another one. Springfield, Valera, Creation.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of quite spread out in the Cape. So yeah, you know, the only problem with being a glass maker is you have to come up with new designs all the time, and they need to be tested. It's, you know, it's a tough job, but somebody has to do it. So when we come up with something new, we take it home and say, well, that'll work, or it won't work, or, you know, as long as for me, most of it, if it as long as it's got a hole in it, it'll work fine.
Okay. I mean, it lends itself quite nicely to ask you what you've got around you there that perhaps you could hold up and show us.
So yeah, we do a lot of different products. I mean, one of the glasses, which is the same as what you guys are drinking out of now, has become a very, very popular one of ours. But what we've taken it sort of to the next sort of, if you like, the latest fashions, and that's to put little optic lines in it. And funny enough, we did some wine tasting with I think it was the Stella Kaya people recently, and we poured into both the same wine into both these glasses. And the wine out of here was so much better than out of here because these little ribs, as you swirl the glass, then aerates it as well, and it actually makes a massive difference. Okay, you don't get your color, but you could put it in here first to see your color, then pour it in there, and then swirl it and drink it. But whatever you like. But this has become an extremely popular thing of late, and yeah, we've found it works really well to aerate the wine. One of the other popular things we do is this wine cooler. So you obviously put your wine in there and you put ice in here, and never the two shall meet, except to keep it cool. So that has been a very, very popular product. And funny enough, we made this probably 20 years ago and never sold one. And now it's all the rage. And we've actually now just recently made a little one, which we are making for a Japanese restaurant for their sake in Cape Town. So that, again, they put the ice in there, the sake in there, and while it sits on your table, it keeps it cool.
Do you have ice molds that you inserting one block of ice, or is it little
you
bits
can
of
put
ice?
one block of ice. Actually, we sold some to a restaurant in Italy outside of Rome, and they actually filled this up with water and put it in the freezer like that, and then they serve it on the table with a big solid block of ice. Now, when I looked at that, I thought, "Are you crazy? I would never do that." But thinking about it, glass contracts when it freezes, but expands. Sorry, but there is a hole here, so it can expand out. It's not a problem, and it works really well. Really does work well, and it's not a gimmick. It actually is a fantastic product.
No, that looks absolutely amazing. I like that. That's fantastic. Yeah.
I think we're all thinking the same, aren't we, Michelle? Right.
You need some.
Yeah.
I'm loving that. I think I think people are starting to appreciate getting the right temperatures of wines. And I'll come to Gerard. Gerard, what temperature should we have white wines at and red wines?
Oh, that's the whole thing. It's not what temperature should you have white wine. It's what temperature should you have different grape varieties at. Okay. So some white wine you will have between 8 to 10 degrees, and some white wine you want to have 4, 5, 6 degrees. So, but that's when coming back to the glass is why is a wine glass got a stem? And the reason for that is not to hold the glass, because you don't want to change the temperature of your wine. You want to keep the temperature what you need to have it with. So if you have one of those lovely wine coolers there and you have your wine there, you can pour it in and you won't warm it up with your hands. And the same with some of the red wine. So depends on the grape variety and the wine you're drinking and where you're going with it for the day. Then that's the right temperature for the right wine and the right glass.
Yeah, because I could definitely see in a place where it's very warm. I think the whole belief that red wine needs to be at room temperature, but good Lord, room temperature in South Africa makes it very unpleasant in my view. And I know plenty of South Africans that throw ice blocks into their red wine, which is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I think those those wine coolers and carafes are the same point. I think they're absolutely fantastic. But I'm gonna go back to what Gerard said about the stem of the glass, because I think, Gerard, you've forgotten something very important, that you don't want to leave greasy fingerprints on the wine glass either. And Chas, the first time I met Gerard, he stayed with me in South London, and we went out to a folk music evening, and on the way back, we both hadn't eaten. And there was a chicken shop, a greasy chicken shop, takeaway chicken shop, and we've got some chicken and chips. And we went back to my house. We opened up a lovely bottle of wine. I took out some lovely glasses, and we sat around the fire outside, and we sat there eating chicken and drinking the wine. And then we thought, no, we've got to get some photos. We need some content photos for Time to Wind Down. So we put the wine glasses in front of the fire and got some great photos. And the next day we were in hysterics because there's all these greasy fingerprints all over the glasses. So we've it's our little standard joke. But yeah,
there was a wine for around the fire, not for prettiness.
There was gorgeous photos, but I couldn't use them either because I think it was painted wolf wine that you were drinking as well.
Right, yeah.
With the fire, gorgeous, but these chicken fat all around the glasses.
And that's why when you have a few pints of beer at the show, and then afterwards drinking some lovely wine, the wine we won't forget. The fatty chicken grease, I want to forget very quickly.
Yeah. So coming back, Chas, the glasses that have got the ribbed edge, what's the process? Is it quite a different? Is it a difficult process to get that?
No, not at all. We have a like a pre-mold, if you like, before we blow the actual shape of the glass itself. We dip the hot glass on the blowpipe into like the opposite of a gear. If you take a gear but put the gears on the inside rather than the outside, and that makes the lines, and then we blow into the mold afterwards. So these are exactly the same mold. You can see the shape of the bowl itself is exactly the same. So this just goes through one short, quick process before we blow into the actual mold itself. Okay. So these are all also made out of 3 different parts. So that is blown, the bowl is blown in one piece. We then add another piece of hot glass, it's like upside down, and then the guy pulls that out, and then we add in a third piece, which then becomes the foot. So yeah, there's 9 people involved in the manufacture of that glass.
And those are the components of a glass, if I understand. The bowl, the stem, and the foot. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. Some people will do the bowl and the stem in the same piece of glass. They wouldn't add another piece, but we don't. We add one. But they will always add the foot, unless it's a machine-made glass. In fact, if machine-made, but I don't see either any of you 3 drinking out of a machine-made glass, I hope, because handmade is so much nicer and so much more delicate and easier to drink out of. Yeah, so that's the 3 components of a glass. Yeah, so the hot side of our factory, 9 hands it passes through, and then another 3 hands before it's finished, and then another 2 hands in the packaging and the quality control. So 15 people per glass the hands pass through before it comes to you.
Wow. Okay. I'm conscious that you're nice and relaxed again, so I think it's time for Michelle's second question.
I think maybe we should introduce the wine. So we've put together a little box where you could a little, I don't know what you call it, Gerard, a wine and glasses package. And within this Christmas maybe package, you can have wines, and it will be Misha Estate wines. Gerard has Somerset Rural Internet, so he'll be back. And Misha Estate, the Misha wines is something we work a lot with. It's lovely wines. We've had a chat with Andrew Barnes on here as well a little while ago, and we'll put the link in. But the Misha name came from a specific kind of nickname. So the wine farm was started by the 3rd generation, so the grandparents, in just after the Second World War. A grandmother was a dancer at with the Russian ballet, and I think grandfather was involved in the Second World War. So they found this little wine estate, or it was a farm back then, with a view of Table Mountain in Wellington, which is quite unique. And they decided to call the farm Misha, based on a nickname that, I suppose it's a Russian nickname for a specific name. So it was a friend of the grandfather that was with him in the Second World War, and it was also the ballet partner, dancing partner of the grandmother. And both these names were the same, and they refer to Misha as the nickname to this name. Could you maybe risk a guess as to what name this nickname would be based on?
Is it a male or a female?
Male.
A male. So then surely it has to come from something like Michael or Michelle or
yeah, no, that's right. You're right. Michael.
Am I?
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
There you go.
The grandmother's dance partner's name was Mikhail, which would translate to Michael, and the grandfather's friend was called Michael. And that's why it's called Misha, which is a beautiful estate. Maybe on your trip down, you're going down to the Western Cape next week. They also have I think the biggest, depending on the year, vine nursery on the farm itself.
And it's in Wellington.
That's in Wellington, yes, Misha Estate. And this will also be the wines that's involved with this Christmas box. There we go.
I will definitely make an effort to get there. I am going down next week, but I'm going down for my son's wedding. So we're going to be pretty busy running around up the West Coast, unfortunately. But we are spending one night in Paarl, actually, which is not far away. Through the tunnel, and we can get to Wellington.
Brilliant. We do love Misha wines,
yes.
and the story around it. We'll also pop in the link to our chat to Andrew Barnes. Andrew is the brother that runs the wine side, and the other brother runs the vine nursery side. And Andrew just moved up to Seattle, was it, when we talked to him last? So he's kind of sharing the Misha story in the US at the moment.
Yeah, awesome. Definitely. I don't know. I mean, sorry, my internet is just gone off. Brilliant first world country. But in any case, so yeah, the 4 bottles of Misha with 2 glasses of crocodile or Ngwenya glasses will be available. And I suppose you probably said already, Michelle, the link will be there. So yeah, look out for those to support the charity. So that's always good.
Sounds amazing.
Now, coming back to the glasses, Chas, because that's why we're here. What are the other little fun things that you do to the glasses? Because you spoke about your parents collecting the glass African elephants, African elephants. But these are sort of the things and some of the features that you do like to add to your glasses.
Yeah, so we do. I haven't got one here, but we do little elephants and stuff in the stem of the glass as well. I do an elephant, we do a rhino, we do a hippo, and yeah, going back to what you started with your helping rhinos story, we've been part of nature conservation since 1988. I think we set up a fund for helping endangered species within Eswatini, actually. My dad knew David Shepherd. I don't know if you know him. Was a fantastic wildlife artist from the UK. And we said to him we would like to donate to his foundation. He said, "Don't be silly. You've got problems in Swaziland as it is. Why don't you rather donate your money to someone in Swaziland?" So we did. And we do a lot with wildlife. And because the little elephant was where we started, and initially our main range of products was all the little ornamental stuff. We actually didn't do any blowing of any substance. Whereas now it's about 50-50 of our business, the little ornamental things. But we do a lot of work with the game lodges and the wildlife people in South Africa. So everything, I mean, you go to Singita or Sabi Sabi or the big, well-known game lodges, they all use our glasses in their restaurants. And mainly because we're local for one, but also because of the recycle factor. So we've refined our glasses to such an extent that people often say to us, "Are you sure that these are recycled?" Because they don't look recycled to us. But yeah, we do a lot with animals. We make, I don't know, probably 40 different animals in glass now in different sizes, and it actually all took off really. And I say took off because it was with South African Airways back in the day. Probably in 1990, we used to do all the first class giveaways on South African Airways. So if you flew anywhere internationally, you would get a little piece of Ngwenya glass as a first class gift, and that was really catapulted us into being profitable and made us sustainable and really got us off our feet in the early days. And they also said we need different animals all the time, so it forced us into creating new things. It was a really great little contract that we had with SA back in the day. We're glad we don't have it anymore because they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, you just
Can
made me think.
I ask a non-official question as well around the glass specifically? What is the process? Where does the glass come from? I know you separate the glass also in the white glass and the colored glass, and you do different things with them. Can you just give us a little bit of background on that?
Yeah, so we collect glass bottles from all over Eswatini, from the dump sites, from households, from schools, from clubs, from restaurants. Everybody knows that we will take all the clear glass we can get. We wash it, break it down into smallish chunks, sort of the size of two 1 rand coins, if you like. And we melt that in a furnace. The furnace is 1,250 degrees. And as I said earlier, that heat we get from KFC oil and a little bit of paraffin. And then the guys, it's all done by hand. We use the same traditional glass blowing techniques that have been used for millennia, first developed by the Egyptians and the Venetians. And so we basically do very, very similar. It's exactly the same technique, but we have a few things that we do slightly differently, I think. Being at the far away from the rest of the glass world, we actually have developed a few of our own things along the way. With my engineering mind and inquiring mind, I've done some crazy things in my time. I was sitting on the phone doodling on my desk pad, and I came up with a glass with a stem on the side of the glass rather than in the center, and it looked quite cool in my drawing. And I showed it to Subasiso, our main blower, and I said, "Can we make this?" And he said, "No, not possible." I said, "Well, that's not good enough. We're going to try." And we've done been through a few of these processes over the time. And it is today our best-selling glass. So this is what we call our SU2. It doesn't have a stem in the middle, and actually it's extremely comfortable to hold just with one finger. It balances absolutely perfectly with a bit of wine in it. Oops, sorry. Balances absolutely perfectly just on one finger. It's actually a great glass. And okay, sorry, Gerard, my finger is going to be touching the wine, but yeah. So it's just one of the funny, silly things we do. There's no ways we can compete with the big industrial glass manufacturers, so we have to do quirky, different stuff, and that's what we do, and we do it very, very well. We've had international glass blowers come to visit us, and they're actually blown away by the skills that our guys have got. You've heard of Blown Away, I presume, the Netflix thing. Yeah, so we use similar techniques, all the same tools as everybody else, but we do some things a little bit differently. The beauty about this glass, it's almost impossible to make by machine because it's not central. So yeah, there have been a few copies on the market since we brought it out, but if you could, I guess that's a compliment if you get copied, right?
It's sort of, that glass looks so much like an elephant's trunk. It's just yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, some people say it looks like an ostrich's leg.
Yeah.
But it's cool and it works well. It's not a gimmick. It actually is very comfortable to drink out of.
You just made me think at the last event we did for International Pinotage Day. Michelle helped me tell the story of how the ostrich got a long neck and legs, and it's the ostrich and the crocodile. Because at that point, the Park Tavern, where we're going to be doing quite a few events now, they've got this beautiful mural, and they've got ostriches painted on the wall. It's stunning. So we made reference to the Park Tavern, and then of course we were holding the Ngwenya glasses. So we thought it fitting to have a story with the two characters. So we'll have to tell you that story sometime.
Yeah, sounds good.
I still don't know what sound a crocodile makes with a sawtooth.
And actually, one of the ladies who works there, actually is from Swazi. Or from So
did she know us?
Yes, she was very proud.
Yeah, she was like, "Wow, Ngwenya glasses is awesome." Yeah. So
yeah, we've been around for a while, and we've been very successful in exporting to all 7 continents of the world, actually. So we're proud of that.
Yes, fantastic.
My brain starts spinning with ideas, like things that I could see you guys doing. So I'll have to make a list and just send them across to you. Just for one example, my wife, when my eldest daughter was born, and she's turning 20 this year. So for the last 19 Christmases living in the UK, she's always made sure to buy the Swarovski Christmas star. And they're not expensive, but they're not cheap either. But our collection now, we have 19 of these stars every year, and they don't really get used. They just get kept. You look at them and then put them in the box and put them away, but it's a collectible. It just got me thinking, goodness me, Ngwenya Glass could have a Christmas glass that there's only like 100 of them, right? And you can collect them every year. But anyway, I thought I'd just share that with you.
The idea did come to mind many years ago, because we also started collecting those same things, actually, those Swarovski ones. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what happens. The time just seems to fly, and before you know, you're into Christmas again. Oh, sure, but now we've got to make another glass. And yeah, it sort of petered out. We just ran out of space, really.
Oh, sherbet? Is that what you really said, Chas? Oh,
no.
Okay. No, this is a family show.
Indeed.
Isn't it, Gerard? Family show, all about wine.
Absolutely. I mean, wine drinking can start at the age of 10. I think that's sort of, a good time to start introducing wine to your 10-year-olds in a very small little bit like that, with a big glass of water next to it on a Sunday roast. That's where I think you should start. What happens then, unfortunately, is as you grow older, you're forgetting about the water and you're drinking more wine. And then the combination doesn't really go so well at the next morning. Well, yes.
Oh, we all full of smiles, especially Chas. So I think it's time, Michelle, for our third and final challenging question.
Okay, so I've kind of combined this one a little bit, as Chas is going down to Paarl, which is kind of the area where Abraham Isaac Perold, Gerard's great-grandfather, he was born in Dal Josephat and kind of grew up there and started working for a relatively well-known company in 1927-28. Now, Gerard's great-grandfather created a new grape variety, and it put 2 grapes together and made this grape. They named it while he was working at KWV. Now, the question is 2 parts. Which 2 grapes did he put together to create this Pinotage grape? And what does KWV stand for?
I thought you were going to ask me what's the name of the new variety. It'd be easy. But then you need to go ahead and mention Pinotage. I have a feeling it's Pinot Noir and Hermitage.
Well done, yes. Yeah, which is now called Cinsault, because we're not allowed to call it Hermitage anymore after the 1935 crayfish agreement. Yeah.
And KWV must be Kaapse Wynvereniging, maybe?
It's a general mistake. It's actually Coöperatiewe Wynbouwersvereniging van Suid-Afrika. So Cooperative Winemakers Union of South Africa. And they were a kind of an umbrella company where farmers would deliver their grapes and they would, support and spread, distribute their products. So, yeah. Close?
Yeah, basically cooperative. So they didn't all make their own wine. They supplied the grapes, and KWV did the hard work. And the marketing.
Yeah. And I think KWV was also then the biggest exporter, because they had all these farmers, and in the times when we did were able to export and things like that.
I've got a funny story about KWE if you have time.
Yes.
We have
So
time.
while I was at sea, we used to export all the KWV Rudeberg, which wasn't available in South Africa, but it was available overseas. But we didn't export it in bottles. It was exported in tanks, so in big container tanks. And the one trip we were on, the one tank, for some reason, was stored on the deck, not under the deck like most containers were. I mean, you do have containers on deck as well. So yeah, the wine one happened to be there. And one of the guys worked out how to tap it without breaking the seal. So we had free KWV Rudeberg for 16 days between Cape Town and I guess London. I don't know where we were going. So yeah, we had free KWV Rudeberg, and I really enjoy KWV Rudeberg since that day. Actually, I bought a lot of it. So
It's a lovely wine. It is really one of our oldest red blends in South Africa.
that's right.
Chas, we are 3/4 of the way through today. Actually, we're coming towards the end. But I did want to just touch on something which I know is very close to your heart. You've already mentioned the work you do for the local community and working closely with the game lodges and environment, etc. But there is something that we talked about the last time we had a conversation, which was a wonderful initiative you started in not so much protest, but definitely looking at the way that we as a society and what we're consuming and the damage we're all causing to this wonderful world we live in. And I thought, wow, November, the end of the last Friday of November is our horrible Black Friday. I think this month it's the 25th of November. But you started something, you and your team started something with the local community. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that? Because I think this is something that needs to be spread around the world, but making sure that everyone recognizes where it first started.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, it was back in either 2017 or 2018. I can't remember exactly when. And Black Friday was coming along, and we just decided we're not going to do this whole crazy selling everything for nothing like everybody else does. Let's do something for the environment instead. So we decided to have a cleanup campaign, and we called the cleanup campaign Black Bag Friday. I don't know what color your garbage bags are in the UK, but ours are all black over here. And we went out into our local community and collected rubbish on the side of the road, in the rivers, all over the place. And we knew it was bad, but we were so shocked at how bad it was that we decided this has to become a weekly event now. So every Friday since then, except through COVID, we take one of our teams out and we go out for an hour or two and we do a big cleanup campaign over a stretch of our highway, probably 7-8 kilometers both ways. And yeah, we collect a bucket load of rubbish every single time, at least one bucket load. And it just doesn't seem to get any better, but it definitely is getting better because we're not seeing the stuff on the side of the road as much as we used to. But yeah, so it's been a campaign that we've kept up, and we're now taking it one step further. We're going to be working next year with one of the top schools in Eswatini, and I'm getting their kids to create a 10-minute video that can be then shown in other schools, because I believe that teaching children about not littering is better than us trying to beat it into them as adults. So them listening to their own peers and giving the reasons why it's bad for the environment and all that, then we're going to spread it across the whole of Eswatini in each school. We're partnering there with a company that does rugby training in all the little schools around the country, and they're going to, as part of their rugby training, going to take it in and show the video for 10 minutes. And then we'll run some sort of competition, I think, probably per region or per high school, junior school, best cleaners collected the most. I'm not too sure what the logistics of that is just yet. But I really feel strong that we need to clean up Eswatini. We need to clean up the entire planet. But I mean, we in Swaziland have a big problem, and we really need to sort it out. And the education of the kids, hopefully they will then grow up as adults and not litter as well. And hopefully take it home and stop their parents from littering. I mean, I just feel ill when I'm driving behind a car and a guy opens his window and chucks his plastic bag out or his bottle or whatever out the window. It drives me insane. And when I hoot at him and flash my lights, he like looks at me, you know, what's your problem? So we need to change that whole mindset, and hopefully we can do it one black bag at a time.
And for me, it's where last time I've been to South Africa, you get that similar thing all over. And for me, it is about what I observed is your people's property is clean and tidy. And the other side of their wall, it just doesn't matter anymore. And I think we need to, from young education, teach people that it's not just your own area that you need to look after, it's anywhere you go. But that's a fantastic start, and really, it's really pleasing to hear where you're going with it.
I think it's making that connection to the rest of, you know, we've been disconnected from our environment, from the earth and from everything. So it's really nice to know that these things are happening from such a sustainable point, where you're using that rubbish, which, you know, the glass, you even use the colored glass, don't you? Not just
so the colored glass we don't use in our melting production, but what we do is we crush it down into sand, and that's what glass is made from initially anyway. And we mix that in when we're doing any building projects or whatever. We make our own building blocks, and we mix in the glass rather than the sand, which would have been collected from the rivers and obviously disturbed the river courses as well. And over the years, we've built quite big buildings, you know, at the factory as we've grown, and then we helped our staff build houses with those blocks and everything as well. So at the moment, I'm not doing any building, but yeah, we still collect the colored glass, put it through a crushing device, convert it back to sand, and even if you just do that and actually throw it away as sand, it's environmentally fine. It's got no sharp edges on it. The process that we put it through, so it doesn't do any damage to anything. And actually, you could, I guess, dump it in the sea if you really want to without doing any damage whatsoever, because nothing's going to eat it. It's not, as I say, it's got no sharp edges, so it's not going to cut anything. But yeah, we just stockpile it, so when we need to build, we will make some more blocks. Or if we got one of our employees needs to build a house or whatever, we'll do it. You know, we make blocks for them and help them with that.
I love that. And I was I don't know if you know about Glass Beach in California. It's a tiny little bay. It's gorgeous, and it's just little glass pebbles everywhere from the glass that's been coming out of the ocean. I was there a couple of years ago. It's really nice.
Very similar off the southwest of the UK, on the islands of Isles of Scilly. They're the same thing. A lot of shipwrecks over the years, and the same thing. There's some bays that all this sea glass comes in.
Yeah.
And we actually collected so much from our last trip there, and it's amazing. The artists use it in their work and everything. But it is, yeah, it is a great story. Lovely to hear what you guys are doing, Chas. I think extremely inspirational. I did an event with involved in the Scouting Association here, and we did a cleanup for one of our local parks with my Beaver Scouts, ages 5 to 7, and we thought, the park looked clean, but each little group of kids, about 4 or 5, they thought this was the best thing ever, and they became uber competitive, trying to see what they could find in the bushes and everything, and each of them came back with full black bags of rubbish, and this was a clean park. So I think it's not just, you know, developing countries around the world that have this problem. Sometimes the problem is very much everywhere, and I think this story is something that we can definitely help share and promote, and obviously tag you guys accordingly, because it's just lovely to know where do things start, what is the origin of a story. So,
and connecting the story to the things is what's the magic.
Yeah, I mean, everybody doing their own little bit makes a massive difference. Or they call it the butterfly effect or whatever.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now we have reached that point, today's session, that we have to bring this to a close. It's been absolutely amazing, Chas. But I guess before we go, what I was going to ask the question, what can we do to help you? But we are already helping you because we've already, the team Time to Wind Down and Peril Wine Cellar starting to buy the glasses from Ngwenya Glass in the UK. But I guess the question is, where do you guys see yourselves going, and what do you want? I mean, of course, people buying your glasses, it's obvious. It lends itself to the question, who's your target audience? But I guess what can we do to help you?
Yeah, I mean, I think just getting the word out of what we're doing and how we do it. We are expanding our business slightly. We're going to get into a little bit of bespoke bottling now as well. So those people in the wine industry who have got maybe one block and they want a special bottle just for that block, I want to get into that market and hopefully be able to offer them their own specific bottle. And I'm also targeting the people like the gin, the gin and the rum and the artisanal distillers that are doing lots of, I mean, they're huge now, especially in this part of the world. I presume they are over there as well. And everybody has got like a generic bottle, and they could all do with their own bottle. So that's one thing that we're going to be targeting next year. I'm investing in a small little machine. It'll be a semi-automated machine, so you don't have to buy 50 or 500,000 bottles. You can buy 1,000 if you want to, or even 500, as long as you're prepared to pay for the mold that we blow into to make sure that the bottle is the same for each one. Yeah, I mean, what can you do for us? Carry on buying our product. I mean, we really appreciate your support on that. And if we can do something specifically for you, we would love to do that as well. If you've got a specific shape you want to make, we can do that. We make a promotional prototype mold out of probably jacaranda. Most of the time we use jacaranda or an avocado tree. Jacaranda is a weed in this part of the world, so the ones that are cut down, we make a little wooden mold, make probably about 40 or 50, maybe 100, depending on what the shape is. And we can make a specific shape for anybody. We will then, if they want to go into production with it, we then make a graphite production mold. And yeah, there's your own specific glass made by Ngwenya, made by hand with love from us. So if you have a specific glass for this program of yours, then that'd be great. Wind down. Awesome, we can do that. Let's do a wind down glass.
Yes.
What does it look like? Is it upside down? Maybe it's upside down. Or on its side or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing we can do because it's all done by hand. So there's no machine setup or anything like that. So it's easy for us to make specific things for specific clients. And we've done a lot of that over the years.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people actually in especially in South Africa with artisan gents that would love their own bottle. I think I suppose it's just coming down to cost, but I think you should reach out to research them. There's plenty of them. I think they would like to have a bottle that will work for them. And especially also if they're looking to export to the UK, where we don't do 750 mils on the export, we need to have 70 mils. And it's always a little bit of an issue for them to find the right bottle to have that run coming through. So it might be worth talking to the gin companies in South Africa.
Yeah, thanks for that. Why is yours 700, not 750?
That's just the English law. They love to be different.
Can you do less than that, though? 500 works?
Yeah, you can do 500. You can do 750, but to do with the duties, you need to pay on that extra little bit in the bottle. So it will cost much more. So their standard bottle over here is 70 cl for spirits under their laws. So therefore, when South Africans need to export, they need to start suddenly find a different bottle or not filling the bottle to the top. And that doesn't always look that great.
No, it doesn't.
No, so yeah, definitely. I think there's some guys that would be interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of research on it already, and the market is definitely there. There's no one who can do it for them at the moment. The big bottle manufacturers in South Africa are Consol Glass, and their minimum order, I think, is between 300 and 500,000 bottles, and about R1 million setup fee because they need to make a batch of molds, not just one. Where my machine is only going to be one, and we're going to semi-automate it, and we can do 100 bottles, we can do 100,000. So that is our plan for 2023 and going forward.
Okay, cool. Well, when I speak to a couple of these guys, I will point them your way.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
And I
it.
think we need to do another catch up maybe in a year's time and show off our glasses that we can create.
So you guys need to get on the drawing board.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Get on the drawing board. Let's make a design. Let's make a glass specifically for you, not available anywhere else.
Yes.
I like it. Yeah, six different type of glasses with a cooler. Yeah, that's good.
All right, guys,
Perfect.
we've reached the end. Chas from Ngwenya Glass, all the way from Eswatini, which was previously named as Swaziland in Southern Africa. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us today. We will be in touch, of course, because we love your glasses, and we hope that we'll be able to, sell loads and use them more in our events. So, and we wish you well. I look forward to the story that's going to unfold on your journey. So it's bye-bye from me, Andy.
From me, Michelle.
Bye-bye from me, Gerard.
And bye from me. Appreciate all your help. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chas.
Thank you.